I love learning and the feeling of the dots connecting when I learn something new for the first time. I think most of us in this room do, and that's why we're here. Whether you're discussing a rumor with your friend or listening to a TED Talk citing the most credible of sources, it's human nature to want to understand what's going on in the world around us. But when it comes to mass media, Americans are evidently sick of the news torrent coming at them from seemingly all angles. Trends show that public trust in the media has been plummeting for years, and according to a 2022 survey, 50% of Americans found that national news organizations intend to mislead, misinform, or persuade the public. I find this discouraging. While I respect criticisms the mass media is facing, I worry that the values I hold as a journalism student are being left behind in the age of the dinosaurs. It's understandable that audiences are skeptical when 90% of media outlets are owned by the same 5 large conglomerates. Ideally, journalism acts as a watchdog of society, holding the powerful accountable and informing the public. But we have to wonder, who is watching the watchdogs? Without free market competition, traditional news reporting is suffering. Objectivity can be displayed by the major news conglomerates, but they may spin their stories in a way that is palatable to investors or a specific audience. Agenda setting happens in every publication because at the end of the day, they must choose what stories to and not to write about. But this isn't always done to usher a political or ideological objective. If agenda setting is inescapable, what can we do as readers who care about the truth? Well, we can read and support nonprofit and independent journalism. Nonprofit news is free of government influence, as well as corporate agendas aimed at maximizing profit. And independent news comes from smaller publishers that are closely intertwined with their communities. Unfortunately, independent publishers make up a small portion of the industry, and when we read independent journalism, it shows that readers care about stories that aren't represented in prominent media outlets. Nonprofit news sources are incentivized by what stories will bring value to the community, rather than their monetary obligations. In the age of digital marketing, your clicks are the product being sold to advertisers, and we have the power to determine where we'll give our attention. Next, we can analyze the content we consume. Sometimes the only writers who have the sources necessary to cover a story are working for the mass media giants, and their work shouldn't be disregarded because of where it's being published. If you're interested in a story that isn't being covered by the independent sources, mainstream media can still provide sensible coverage. Media literacy helps us analyze the content that we're reading. And this is what I like to pay attention to. Firstly, what experience does the writer have covering a topic? A simple Google search can tell us their history in the field. What kind of article are you reading? While a run-of-the-mill news story should always be objective and unbiased, an opinion piece can still contain information that's been verified by experts. Regardless of what kind of article, it's wise to keep an eye peeled for divisive language, and reading between the lines can reveal the intention of the author. As a journalist with my own opinion column, I appreciate it when writers candidly express which thoughts are their own and back them up with evidence. If an article makes a claim that's indistinguishable from opinion and fact, I look for information elsewhere. Lastly, we can talk it out. Regardless of if I've developed an opinion yet, it's enlightening to have an open discussion about a topic I'm interested in. Sometimes I ask others questions that I find challenging myself, and then we come to a conclusion together. The person that I'm asking might be able to recognize things that I wouldn't, such as biases or plot holes, because their perspective is unique. Even if I don't agree with the friend, professor, or family member whose brain I've chipped away at, I value their perspectives because they often bring up points that I hadn't considered. If the information overload frustrates you, you're not alone. Luckily, we have the power to be the voices of change, whether it be through mindful media consumption or writing about the burning issue yourself. The more I read and write, the sharper my media literacy tools become. And as you read the news presented to you by an algorithm, or you seek out yourself, remember to support independent journalism, openly discuss the topics that are important to you, and talk it out. Thank you.